We're now recording. Hi everyone. Today is April 22nd, and this is Kubernetes Enhancements of Project meeting. This is the meeting rescheduled from April 15th due to prior conflicts. So we will be discussing whatever is there on the agenda. I also pasted the meeting link, the meeting notes link to the chat. So please feel free to have a look at it. Also, before we get started with the meeting, two housekeeping items. Number one, we follow the Kubernetes code of conduct, which essentially boils down to please be nice to everyone. And this meeting is being recorded and will be publicly posted to YouTube. So please be aware of what you say and do in this meeting. Awesome. So we are done with the housekeeping items. I see that Ray has volunteered to be the note taker. Thank you, Ray. With that, do we have anyone new in the call?
I think it's the first time I joined this meeting today. Sorry, I'm just kind of resituating my cameras and everything. I'm at a different location, but I think a few of you know me from the shadowing with the enhancements previously. So I don't think anybody else maybe who doesn't know me here, maybe except I don't know Luke. But I'm Joseph Sandoval. I'm with Adobe and work with as SRE manager, also an operator Kubernetes, and just trying to get more familiar with the overall enhancement process.
Great to have you here, Joseph. Great to see you in this meeting. Luke, I don't know if you are new to this meeting, but if you are, please feel free to introduce yourself.
Sure. Luke Phillips, maybe kind of like Joseph, where I'm just kind of watching, learning, trying to figure out about the process and see where I don't know, someday help out, involve or something. But I've been lurking around the release management meetings as well, just kind of looking to understand it all. So
nice. Good to see you here as well. We'll look forward to more contributions.
Good.
Thanks everyone for those introductions. Moving ahead to the first discussion item that we have for today. Can we merge the Kubernetes enhancement pull request number 2146? I don't know who added this to the meeting. Is there someone who is there in the meeting who added it?
No, but I just see I see some an open question from John on there about listing endpoints, and it's not answered. So I'm kind of anti merging things with open comments, so
I completely agree with that. Also, I see that the last comment mentions that we will discuss or review this in the next week's meeting. It's supposed to be like some meeting in December or January. I'm not pretty sure whether we discussed it already, but what we can do is we can possibly start a Slack thread on this right after this meeting.
Yeah.
So that we get more thoughts, because clearly whoever added this to the notes is not present.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's do that.
But I think it'd be really cool to add that in before 122 starts. So
well, the author has to respond to comments on the PR. So we can ping the author and see how he wants to respond to John. But yeah. I think he has to respond because you know what I mean? Just to, especially if somebody's concerned about something.
Yep, makes sense.
Yeah, I feel this needs some comments to be reviewed, because John's comment is pretty important on not making things bulkier for the process.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
Does anyone have anything else to talk on this point?
No.
Cool. I guess none. Okay, moving ahead. So Anna, on behalf of me, at deprecation level, add deprecation label to Kubernetes enhancements issues. For example, stage deprecation. So I guess this was one of the comments that was put in when updating the enhancements handbook. So Anna, do you want to lead the discussion on this?
It was your idea, but I can. But I think it's a great idea, so I can just like add on to what you said, I guess. But we currently have stage alpha, beta, and stable, and we actually started tracking deprecations, not really like maybe like starting a few releases ago. So it's pretty new, but I think it would be really great to have that label. And it was Nabarun's idea, but I also +1 on that idea. Like, I think it's a great idea. So I just wanted to get everyone's feedback and then maybe create the label if everyone's cool with it.
Yeah, this is like a duh. Like, of course we should do it. Like, and this tracking sheet, like I started tracking the deprecations, I think in 120, like as deprecation. So I think that it makes a lot of sense to just have like a visible, Ray actually wrote that I said duh in the, yeah, I mean, I think that it's like clarity, you know, and like those labels are just like an at a glance kind of thing. And I think that having more clarity in the repo is great, and especially for deprecations, like they won't get missed that way. So yeah, of course.
So can we just add labels, or like, do we need to go through some process? Does anyone know?
I thought that.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I know the process. It's basically creating a PR in the test infra repository with a config called extra labels. I'm not sure where it exactly is, but I can find it out. I can do it if others want and have consensus on this.
Yeah, if you could do it, but then just like put the link to the PR, because like I remember I found where you're supposed to add labels and then I lost it. So I would just like to find it again.
Absolutely. I'd put it in the announcement Slack channel as well as in the meeting notes for others to see.
Yeah, I think this is just like an easy win for everybody. So
yeah, it's just a small trivial thing so that we also have like visibility on GitHub's UI regarding deprecations. So
yeah,
and cool. James can start using it for 1.22. So
yeah, 1.22 is going to see a lot of deprecation. So I already know a PR in KK which deprecates a lot of things. So brace yourself for impact.
I am braced.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. So does anyone else have any comments on this point?
I think we can close the case.
Okay. Fair enough. So let's go to the next point. Next point was added by me. It was about, it was also in conjunction with Jeremy, so not just me. Let me read it. So the thing is, we have been discussing on the receipts step for some time, and there have been lots of reviews by people, and that's really great to have. Just that we did not discuss it further after those reviews came in. So we all wanted to have some thoughts or comments from whoever is involved, and possibly like the external community as well. External as in non-SIG release, non-SIG Arch community as well, who are the primary consumers of this, as to what they feel about what is being proposed. Because as of now, I see only comments from people who have been involved with release or architecture. And I feel like there is a lot of value in getting reviews from people who are consumers of what we are proposing. So that's why I wanted to discuss like what is the pathway for it.
Yeah, so we actually talked a little bit about this. Maybe Kirsten can explain it a little better because it was mostly her idea. I think we talked about it a few weeks ago when no one was here. But she talked about like having us review at first, but then rolling out very smallly by you know, with like maybe do a test with like 1 SIG or something like that, right? I'm not sure if there was like
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
I totally
Yeah,
did not know what you were talking about. No, I
Yeah.
think that my question, well, I would have 2 points at this moment would be, one, I think that probably need to like really like think about the receipts process in light of how successful the opt-in process has been, and whether or not this receipts process is going to add like more heaviness, and whether or not it's going to give like benefit now, because it was made when like the process was a lot more chaotic. So that would just be like my number one like overall thought. But then my number two thought would be that I was concerned that like we can't just roll a tool out to everyone in a mandatory way without having some real testing, because there's a potential that it kind of imposes, related to number one, imposes just like a high burden on authors and SIGs that like they just can't really use it. So like it's kind of like the same idea, but stated in two different ways.
I I agree with both of those ideas, both counts. So I also feel like since we already changed the process a bit in the last release cycle, and people are still like coming to terms with what is the new process, this is like an added thing on them. And this was also, so the cap was written keeping into mind all constraints that we were feeling in the previous process. So we also need to update the cap drastically in terms of like how we changed the process already and what additional value receipts would bring us.
I feel like the receipts now, like the way that if there is some sort of receipts process that gets put into place, it, to me, it feels like it is better at creating artifacts for a release that can be like used in various kinds of automation and tracking, rather than like an interface that individuals need to like interact with. Because it's really easy to like open a spreadsheet and type words in it really fast, and it's a lot harder to like go into a command line tool to do that. And that UI seems very like heavy. Like there's a directory structure now. I have to look in a directory with a tool when I could just look at a spreadsheet before. But I think that there could be some value in like having like we're now organizing the repo better. We have this kept.yaml artifact, and we can create a way to like collect more artifacts for various reasons. And I think that makes sense kind of as a receipt, like as sort of like a data aggregation tool, because we don't necessarily have a great way to do some of that. It's very manual to like look at everything. But I don't know. I kind of feel like we have to probably like rethink what the goal is, since the goal feels like it's different now than it would have been 3 releases ago.
Exactly. And also on the point of like getting manifest of a release as to what happened in a particular release, I think right now the metadata kind of supports it, in a sense that every cap.yaml does have like graduation stages. When did it go to alpha, when did it go to beta, and when did it go to stable? So it's just about probably adding a command like kubectl manifest or something like that, and
Yeah.
give it the release, and it will generate, walk through the tree, and it will generate you information for the release.
Yeah, it feels like that's like it feels like that kind of thing is like kind of the true value. I mean, maybe like of the receipt or of the tool is like being able to survey this vast repo. To get specific information, as opposed to like, this is how I add a cap. This is how I move an individual cap kind of along in the process. Because then you could use like more automation, right? Like you could use the automation to like, I don't know. I have no idea what I was about to say, but I had a good idea, but I lost it. But you could definitely use that information to like make reports, to make charts, to let SIGs kind of use, like, hey, well, what did we do? What did we do over the last year? Like, how many betas do we have? Like, they can do all of that like independently without having to go to a bunch of spreadsheets or go to a bunch of like emails and stuff, you know, like it could be like a central place for people to be able to like survey in some way the state of their enhancements.
I agree, and in a way, that feature has already been implemented, I guess. So there is a command called capsule query, where you can specify -1 stage, -1 SIG, and it will churn you out metadata for all those caps. Like what is the name, who's the author,
Yeah.
who's the same. So,
Well,
So is this just
it could be
okay.
worth like rolling that. I mean, when you feel like, well, first rethink the cap and all of that. But if you're focusing it on as more of a tool, like that's definitely a functionality that isn't, it's not like bound by a release, you know, like to say like, hey, like
Yeah.
we have this new capctl tool that anyone can use. Like that's not something that is like, oh, it's required for the start of any release. So,
Yeah.
you know, depending on how the cap shapes up, like that's something that could be delivered as like just a tool, you know, like.
Yeah, I mean, is the as you say with reporting, is the real value that there is like this defined structure of how this data is stored, which can be reported on, but also fed into tools like capctl if you wanted to, or even other tools, right? I mean, you could envision, I don't know, creating a Slack bot or something to let SIGs do whatever that way. There are ways of making that a more ergonomic. I appreciate that the argument of we're going to make it less ergonomic now to make it more ergonomic in the future is a bit crap, but I suppose that could be a way of getting there.
But it wouldn't, I think if it's like we thought of it, I don't think it would be less ergonomic. Like if you're focusing on it as a tool to facilitate like gathering information, that's something that we can't do right now really without that tool. So I think that if you take away the like, this is how I shepherd a cap through a release and just focus on it as like this really great information gathering tool, then it's like a value add, like just like right off the bat, you know, because all of the caps, like, is that Shakar? I think he is he the person who was helping like reformat all of the caps? Like all of the caps are in the proper form now. So like that hard kind of onerous work has been done. So really it's like a value add, like once the tool is shaped in a way that people feel good about, like that by itself would be a value add. Like you could create some like really cool dashboards and do some really cool reporting and have like, you know, comms people using it or docs people using it or, you know, CNCF using it. Like, I don't know, like it could be like hyper valuable, I think.
I think that is one of the goals that we were trying to solve, and I believe one action item that we can take out of this conversation that I'm feeling like is we should probably sync on Slack or some asynchronous method to actually go over, reiterate the goals that we wrote in the cap and see whether they're valid now or not, and possibly take a informed decision on what we are doing. And since we do have time, in the sense that we are not implementing it for 1.22, certainly 1.22 is going to replicate the process that we did in 1.21. So does
No
that
process change in 1.22.
No.
Yeah. I believe like we should give in more time to the opt-in thing and probably send out a survey after 1.22 to gauge how the community likes it or if they want any changes to that, because the whole idea of like enhancement process is to serve the community in writing good design proposals.
Yeah, I also just think that like, I think the opt-in process has actually been pretty successful. So I think we have to like build on success. And I think that like giving it more time is gonna also see like what problems there are, right? Because opt-in I think solves some problems, but it might not solve all problems of the like enhancement process. So now it's like, okay, like give it a couple releases to let it shake out and see like, okay, what problems are solved and what problems are not solved. And is there space to fix those problems now? Because you don't want to like try to keep fixing the same problems if they don't still exist. So I think it's cool. But I think the tool itself has like easily a lot of great potential value, like as a data aggregation tool, just right off the bat. And then for process, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. but I think that it's going to be really cool for the aggregation of information, because we can't do that right now without it.
I +1 to those points. So I think we are at a consensus here what we need to do with receipts. So let's sync on Slack about it. I'll create a thread mentioning some of the key points that we talked right now, and so that like everyone who is involved can like give their inputs, because we don't have many people on this call right now.
Sounds good.
Yep. So does anyone have anything else to add to this conversation?
I'm just pretty excited. Like, I think that like it's kind of cool that we're potentially going to get like this awesome tool, and we also improve the process, but both of them might happen in like an easier way, because it's harder to roll out like a massive tool to like every single author. So I don't know. I actually feel like this is like really good. Like, try to solve certain problems like in a straightforward way first and see how far you get. And then like, because some of it's a people problem, and I think that we kind of solved it as a people problem first, and then we can do like a technical follow-up to sort of facilitate that, which I think is cool.
Yep. More power to the community.
Yeah.
Sorry for that plug. That was most natural. Okay, cool. So let's hop on to the next point. Thanks everyone for the discussion on this. Really appreciate it. So it's from Anna. I would hand over the baton to Anna to go over the point.
Yeah, so I just noticed that Paris posted an issue that she created for people, for enhancements of group to take a look at. But I saw that Kirsten actually made a comment, but I think the idea is that well, I don't know exactly, I'm understanding the issue, but I think the idea is like, if there's more than one or two SIGs involved in a KEB, like, would it be better to have that KEB discussed in a community meeting? Is that how you understood that, Kirsten?
I didn't actually. I kind of left the question with like my I led with a question. Is this about feedback on the KEP or presenting the KEP? I kind of couldn't personally tell. So like my answer was based on thinking that you were presenting a KEP, because I don't think that, I think it's like how Nabarun was trying to get like super, like more async to be more inclusive. Like, I don't know that like a sync meeting is a good place to like have that discussion, just given all of the time zones. But if it is about like presenting a KEP as a way to like talk about and get async feedback, then I had some ideas about it. But I was just, Paris didn't respond yet to that. So like, I kind of just left a question and some thoughts about that.
Yeah.
And I think she's specifically looking for, can someone from the release team, like enhancements team or lead, I guess, flag which KEPs are, good for discussion, I guess, or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be really good to just respond if anyone has ideas. I just wanted to bring it up.
Well, I actually just had a concern where it's like, I don't think that it should be on the release team to flag these KEPs. Like, I think that it should be on SIGs to flag the KEPs by some sort of criteria. Like, I think that the PRR is kind of like a good starting point, because those are questions and information that the general sort of consumer of features is going to like care about. But at the same time, like, I don't necessarily think that like it's like a release team should be like flagging KEPs semi-arbitrarily. Like, I think that the community meeting is kind of a burden, I think, for authors and SIGs, and it's like a big ask. So I'm just like a little bit concerned about people telling people to do things. Like, I'm a little bit worried about
Um,
that.
Yeah, so what I understood from the issue is that we have a lot of different kind of caps, right? And one kind of cap that we see is which involves a lot of SIGs. Let's say one owning SIG and more than two, or like forgot the term, but more
Participating
than
SIG.
two participating SIGs. So in that case, it's usually like better to have a conversation in a common forum, and the issue is basically suggesting to try to make the community meeting that forum for discussion, because you can, if it occurs monthly, so let's say you can possibly have a 30-minute time slot where you can discuss that. And I don't know, I think SIG release is tagged there because kept being associated with the release. Otherwise, I think even an open question on that is who would be the point of facilitation? Should it be the KEP author or SIG lead? So I don't think it is implying that
Mm,
release or SIG release or release team is on the hook. Just that I think
yeah.
from SIG release, the ask is um, to find a process to do it. Like also, I see the third point is like, could someone from the release team flag which keps are good, or should there be an automated process? Probably not, but it's like a simple signal. Like for example, in the tracking sheet, if we see that there are more than two participating SIGs, then maybe a flag. But I don't know if we should put more time investment into it more than that. But let's discuss
Yeah.
probably on
I
that
almost feel
issue.
like this needs input from SIGs more than it needs
Yep.
input from us. Like I feel like it's more like what is like, hey SIG leads, like would this help you? And if so, how would you like to do this? Because like they're the ones who have to have the discussion and also get the value out of the discussion. So I almost would say like I feel like this this uh this issue should be sent to like SIG leads for discussion. You know what I mean? Like because I just feel like that's not, it's almost like outside of our expertise, especially if it's about groups of SIGs collaborating with each other. And to see what they say. They might have ideas, you know, they might say, oh yeah, like I didn't know I could use the community meeting. I didn't know. Maybe that's enough to get them to just like volunteer for things. Or maybe they have reasons to think it won't work because of time zones.
Yeah, and I think by the time like we notice a cab with like multiple participating SIGs, like it's already like part of the release. Like we're not keeping track of all the enhancements anymore, right? We only look at the ones that have opt-in to the release. So it's already too late by the time we notice something. So I think that totally makes sense. And once a month, like that's not gonna help the release team at all.
You missed it. You missed the deadline and like it's over.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of the work where it's like we want SIGs to take more ownership of KEP, and part of that is planning, and part of planning is talking to the people that you need to talk to, right? So presenting this as a way to talk to all of the people that you need to talk to seems like the furthest we can go. Because once a month, it's like you only have 4 weeks for a KEP anyway, so it's not really going to get you there.
Yeah, but I really do like the idea though, like if it's successful, because one of the issues that we did see last release was that the owning SIG, they opt in without letting the participating SIGs know, right? Like, so that was one of the problems we had. And eventually those caps didn't merge or like didn't make the enhancement entries, but like it shouldn't be really up to us, like the release team, to really like facilitate between the owning and the participating SIG, right? So like if there's a forum for them to talk to each other, if they don't do that already, like I think that's a really great idea.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll suggest on the, I'll write something, I can write something on the issue, like kind of suggesting to bring this to the SIG leads and see what they think and how they could use this time to facilitate their cross SIG communication. But
Mhm.
also that's the correct, I think that that's the correct outcome, right? It's like if you don't talk to another SIG, you're not going to get your work in because you didn't talk to the other SIG. Like I think that that's actually, that's correct. I mean, it could probably be tighter where it's like, I see that you opted in, but I also see that there's another SIG listed, but they didn't opt in for this feature, and
Mhm.
just kind of nip that in the bud earlier rather than later. But yeah,
Yeah, if you could take that on, like, I
yeah, I'll do
think
that.
cool.
Cool.
Awesome. So
Getting
I
stuff done.
guess we will respond to that thread, to that GitHub issue, and get the conversation rolling there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So does anyone have anything else on this topic? Awesome. I think we don't have anything. Also, we are at the end of agenda for the call. So the last call, like, does anyone have anything else to discuss?
Yeah, hi everyone.
Hello.
This is me, Shekhar.
Hey.
Yeah, hi everyone. Yeah, so in one of the thread, we were discussing about campsite and release page. If you remember, number one.
Yep.
Yeah, so so right now we have all the metadata about the enhancement projects and proposals in the repository. So we want an UI that will display all these details quickly. This is the main idea behind the cap site, right?
Yes. So we want to, for starters, we want to see like what all caps have been filed, and from that we can extend onto the notion that we can probably filter by SIG or filter by release or filter by authors. Like, then like it would be completely up to the front end on how do we do it. So the one of the asks there was to have a generic command on capctl, which eventually turned out to be capctl query, which
Yeah.
churns out a JSON or YAML depending on what you require for the front end, and then probably a static site generator or something can read that JSON file and generate some beautiful page. So
Yeah.
that, so one thing that we need to explore right now, the first thing that we need to explore right now is to create a page which reads the JSON file and shows it as a table. And then probably we
Mhm.
can think about automating it somewhere. So ideally we should do a POC first, show that things
Mhm.
work, and then we
Mhm.
can move forward.
Yeah, yeah, got it. Okay, I will spend some time to understand the some commands and how the YAML and JSON uh generated. Okay.
Is this
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
website conversation just as someone butting in?
Yeah, that's the conversation we're talking
Okay,
about.
cool.
Yeah. Also, like if you've
Yeah.
seen that thread, Tim Bannister from SIG Docs had already
Yes.
placed in with some ideas. Like you can also sync with Tim uh, about what work he has done already, so that you get up to speed like as soon as possible. Um, if you see
Okay.
that thread or the linked GitHub issue, both have some context on what Tim was exploring. Even ping him, he's
Okay.
pretty active.
Okay. Okay. Got it. So yeah, in release page, the current release page, we can see all the cap that is completed or some URL that redirected to this enhancement proposal issue. So some any kind of common thing in both the pages, or they are both separate, totally different.
Uh, which release page are you talking about?
So in Kubernetes release page, we log everything, right? What are the changes is there in this new release, basically change log.
Okay, so
So
do you mean
in
the
that,
change log?
yeah, in changelog, we mark some of the that is completed, right?
Let me just open that page. Sorry, I saw this page for the first time. Very ignorant about. Thanks.
Is there?
Okay,
Could
so
you link the issue that you're talking about? I'm just for those of us in the peanut gallery listening.
I think I see it in the chat. I'm gonna put it in the notes.
it's 2095. Let me. I'm linking it to the title. So I linked it to the title and also putting it in the chat. So this was the issue that started off this conversation. And thanks, Shekhar, for adding the Slack thread as well.
Yeah.
So this also went in and had like lots of back and forth. So I feel like we can unblock ourselves by starting with a POC of how the page would look like, and maybe we can extend from there. I would say let's not bother about like where we would deploy it and which website this will be part of, kdev or kubernetes.io. Basically kubernetes.dev or kubernetes.io. Let's just build a POC for others to see, and maybe we can ask the community directly that maybe just shoot an email
Yeah.
to SIG release, SIG Arch, and um, later on kdev.
Yeah, got it.
And
Got it. I will explore. Yeah.
if we're interested in just like following this, is this the issue to follow, or is it easier to open like a clean issue for whatever you're going to do? Only because I see like a ton of conversation, so I'm not sure what's easiest for you.
I think let's use this issue for now, but if we see a need that if the conversation there is getting too complicated to track, I'm +1 for creating a new issue later on.
Yeah, it's fine.
I just wanted to say thanks so much for all of your hard work, Shekhar. Like you've been doing like amazing work in the enhancements repo, and I just wanted to like officially say out loud how much we appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Plus 1 million to that, or maybe an infinite zeros. Like after a 1. Thank you for all the
Yeah.
help there.
Yeah, welcome. My pleasure. Yeah, I will look into the how this command line works and how it gets generated, and I will explore how we can display in UI, and
Yeah,
maybe
sure.
I will update in Slack channel. Yeah.
Yep. So if you feel stuck with respect to the command, ping me. If you feel you're stuck somewhere with how do you generate the website, you can ping me or Tim Bannister, because Tim has also explored a lot on that front. Just ask away whenever you are stuck.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Awesome. I think we just have 2 minutes. So does anyone have anything else to talk about on this point or on anything?
Thank you, Ray, for taking all of the accurate and complete
Yeah.
notes.
Welcome.
Those were some solid meeting notes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well,
we got a
yeah.
lot done.
We should probably start a meeting notes mentoring program under Ray. Only if Ray is like willing to lead it.
Wait, isn't that
Thanks.
Ray's fake background too? Just so everybody
This is
knows.
a fake
It's not-
background.
Yeah.
That's not his real bookcase. It's a lie. He's living a lie right there. I love
Need the
it.
real. I got a real bookcase, which helps. So I can pull things off.
James is giving the proof of like taking out a book and reading it.
Yeah, you need to be able to like go grab random books.
Yeah, that's real.
Some next gen CGI there.
Cool, everyone. I'm going to officially end the meeting, stopping recording, and just thanks everyone for being there and the awesome conversations around those points. Try to put up AIs on Slack or wherever relevant for the points that I have taken ownership of. With that, have a nice day, evening ahead. With that, happy weekend as well. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.